Hey everybody, Mark and Steve here with a holiday offer for you as we enter into the Christmas and the New Year's season. You know, we know that recovery can be difficult, and we know as addicts in long-term recovery how hard it is to come into the holidays. You know, you're looking back on the year, and here's another year where we haven't beaten this addiction. Here's another year where we're trapped in betrayal trauma. Here's another year where our coupleship is suffering. Well, right now, from December 15th, 2025 through January 31st of 2026, we are doing our annual holiday promotion. It's the best promotion that we do all year long to try to start 2026 off right. In addition to our 2-week free trial, we're also offering $150 off of your first month subscription here at Dare to Connect. All you need to do is use the code 150OFF D2C, all caps, no spaces when you check out.
And what that means is for both you as you're an addict in recovery and partners in betrayal trauma healing, that's 6 weeks of our Dare to Connect program for less than $150. That's less than the cost of one therapy session just about anywhere. So come and join us. Be sure again at checkout to enter that code 150OFF D2C, all caps. And we'll look forward to seeing you on our D2C program.
We will catch you all in 2026. Hey everybody, I'm Steve Moore.
And I'm Mark Castleman.
We know the pain and heartbreak of porn and sex addiction.
And we know the triumph of breaking completely free.
Every day, we help our clients find hope and healing.
Join us in the fight to take back your life, your marriage, and be stronger than ever.
This is the PBSC Squared podcast. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the PBSC podcast. Steve Moore and Mark Castleman here with episode 314. And get this, you're all going to be blown away. It's not a question today we're addressing.
That hasn't happened in a long time.
Yeah. I thought I was about ready to hit one of our soundboard effects, but I won't. It's a rare day, and I think actually the last time we were completely without questions to answer was actually the holiday time last year. It's pretty typical. We get a way big reduction in how many questions are sent in. Obviously, all of you are spending time with family. This recording is January 5th of 2026. So we hope that wherever you're watching this and whenever that you've had some time to celebrate with family and renewal and are hitting a new year. And that's actually going to be somewhat the subject today of our podcast. As you can see, the title for today is How to Attain Real and Lasting Change in 2026. Or really any time, right? And not have it just be another New Year's resolution or just another New Year's goal or just another thing. Mark and I, and most of you know right now, and there's an advertisement for it, so you can get the details about it. But if you're watching this as of this recording, we run an annual holiday promotion here at Dare to Connect for a deep, deep discount on your first month in the program. So please do check out the advertisement if you want to take advantage of that. Promotion ends on January 31st, and there's just a coupon code you have to put in for that. But we do a deep discount at the beginning of the year because Mark and I both have really strong feelings about New Year's resolutions and the historical efficacy of said things. We're both probably like many addicts who are listening to this, and maybe some partners in other areas of life. The holidays were such a mix for Mark and I, in our years in addiction. They were... You just feel like the whole gamut of emotions. I look back on the holidays, and I remember some years I felt, okay, this is it. I've got it. I'm doing it. I'm done. I've had it. Not one more. And I had really, really good intentions.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is I would set quote unquote New Year's resolutions with good intentions, but without an accurate set of skills or from an accurate paradigm or from a place of any sort of positioning that set it up for even a remote chance of success.
Yep.
And those goals, when we set goals or resolutions in that way, what it did for Mark and myself, and what it probably has done for many of you listening, is the holidays kind of become a period of like, oh, it's the holidays slash this is a great reminder of how I screwed up again for another year. Here I am, having blown off all of last year's goals and probably the years before that and probably the years before that. I'm looking at my little mini emotional cemetery of dead goals that I've just buried, you know.
Well, or too often, what happened during the holidays, which would also happen on vacations during the year, your whole routine goes out the window. You're on holiday, so you're on vacation from everything. You
Yes.
don't journal. You don't have a daily self-care routine. You're not using healthy communication skills, right? It just all goes out the window. And then what would you end up doing on vacations or during the holidays? Acting out in your addiction, right? The family stresses, time off. It's right. I'm gonna celebrate. This is gonna be my circus time, my entertainment time. And so all that would too often go down the tubes during the holidays. And then you come into the new year and you're pounding your fist on the desk, and that's the last time I'm going to do right. And you do these totally unrealistic, I call them blast out of the gate like a flashy racehorse speeding down the track, right? Really impressive, really determined, really, bombastic. And then you get about two laps around life's track, and then the flashy racehorse is lying on the side dead. And
Yeah.
then you're right back where you were again. And then here was the part that was really tragic about that, is that whole annual ritual actually ended up doing what? Number one, deepening my shame, my hopelessness, my unworthiness, my resolution that I'm once an addict, always an addict. I'm never going to escape this. I would go into deep shame after failing in that so-called goal setting process. And then I would just go deeper into my addiction to soothe and cope.
Oh, of
So it
course.
ended up being a disaster. I would have been
Yeah.
better off not doing anything at all.
Right now in Dare to Connect, in fact, just this morning during the addict session, we put a focus on what are the emotional stressors that push a guy towards and keep a guy stuck in addiction. One of the big dead ringers for the guys this morning and for Mark and myself historically is exactly what Mark's talking about, that deep sense of inadequacy. The new year was just this gigantic neon lit billboard of how Steve isn't enough and can't keep goals and can't
Mm-hmm.
accomplish visions and can't follow through, and right, it's just like this giant advertisement that's in like Las Vegas lighting that's invisible to everyone else, but it's like all I can see. It's just like, yep, here we are again for the same reasons. And there are reasons why that flashy outside out the gate racehorse mentality doesn't work. There's a newness and a novelty, for example, that oftentimes accompanies recovery that really, really feels good. It's change, it's renewal, it's growth, and that like feels awesome, but then we don't pair it with anything solid.
Yeah, we call it the pink cloud of initial recovery, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Because it feels good to make it stand. It feels good to
Well,
say this year is going to be, those all feel really good. But when not paired with sustainable effort, with a sustainable framework, with actual capacities and things in place to actually create a path forward for that vision, it is a recipe for failure. We're going to talk about this in just a minute. But setting goals in that way, Mark and I were talking about this in pre production today. Looking back, if I'm just being honest with myself, that was just me like pulling out my day planner and just setting up a day. Okay, so next week I'm going to feel shame on Friday, next Friday.
yeah, you might as well have scheduled it right in
Yeah, I'm
for
just going to schedule it. Okay,
the
after
shame, the
after I get
failure.
up in the morning and after I
Mhm.
fail on these three things, this is going to be my day of self-loathing. It's going to be a good day. It's going to be great.
Well, and speaking of day planners, that was another thing I would do. I'd say, okay, it's a new day planning system that I need. And I'd get if I get the genuine calfskin binder that costs $200, that's the one that's really going to do it. Or I heard about this new change system and I bought all the DVDs, right? Dating myself.
Yes.
Or,
For me, it was the Palm Pilot. I'm a child of the digital age.
yeah,
In
the new
early
Palm
in our
Pilot.
during our early marriage, yeah, here we are like this poor couple, and what am I looking for Christmas? A Palm Pilot, which is just a new way to play that little game Snake on during church. It really wasn't actually. It never, it amounted to something for a couple of weeks, and then it was my
Yeah,
snake game.
look at that newness and novelty of the addict brain. Always looking for the new, the novel. Can we just say to all of you listening, whether you're partners or addicts, please don't drag yourself through this again this year.
No,
Don't
please.
don't do it. Right? We're going to hopefully give you some tips today about how to avoid that with not with just New Year's resolutions, but with any goals.
Yes.
Any goals. So
When you're sitting down and you're wanting to facilitate real change, we want to help you walk away from today a little more empowered to actually just do just that, right?
yeah.
Begin to change rather than just put a date on the calendar for feeling crappy again.
Well, let's talk about the things to avoid. We've talked
Yes.
about a few of them already.
Yeah, I mean there are some good ones. And one you hear us talk about, we mention it in passing a lot on the podcast, but it's great day to kind of focus on it for just a minute. What we kind of at D2C and at PBSE term the blood oaths. The blood oaths, when we say blood oaths, what we mean are oaths or promises or grandiose dedications that we make usually from a reactionary place.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, we've just had like a really cool spiritual experience, or we went to or in the case of the holidays, right? We went to that nativity scene or that Christmas story or that play or whatever that just hit us. And we're just like, it's got to be different. It's got to be different.
Yeah.
And so what do? We take that, and again, those are great things,
It
right? But
is.
what do we do is from a reactionary state, we try to set goals without a framework that are reflective of that reactionary state of mind that we're in. And as we have been talking about recently in Dare to Connect, rather than being responsive or responding to things in our environment, which is a very contemplative, very deliberate thing, we do what addicts do with everything, which is we react. And even though it's a good side of reaction, what is it? As Mark said, it's bombastic, it's unrealistic. We go way to the one side, and either we set ourselves up because it's not sustainable, it's not attainable, it's not accountable. Like a lot of things get in the way, but blood oaths are when we do it from that reactionary side. A great example would be I remember as a kid, I went to a spiritual thing, this spiritual discussion or retreat thing where they talked about how video games could get in the way of your life and be a distraction. Which is a true statement. Well, what did Steve do? He came home, took all of his video games, and literally took them out in the yard and smashed them with a hammer. No joke. Took all the CDs. This was back in the day when CDs were a thing. Smashed them all with a hammer. Week later, and I buried him. I buried him in the garden.
He buried him in the garden.
Week later, I'm out there with my mom's little garden trowel, digging up the shoebox, praying that I somehow didn't smash all of them, and some of them still stayed. Why? Because I went from a place of taking what? Yeah, I should probably curb this video game thing a bit, to saying what? Digital things have no place in my life ever, heretofore, forever.
Yeah, it's all gone. It's all over, right? And what were you doing? We have this on our list too. You were committing to things that are or setting things that were ironclad goals that you couldn't commit to. They
No,
weren't
they're
realistic. They weren't attainable. They were extreme, right?
yeah,
And why do we do that, especially with those of us who have an addiction history? We think that the dopamine surge, the adrenaline surge, the novelty and newness and the excitement of pounding our fist on the desk and saying this that I'm gonna that's it, yeah. We think that will carry us through when real life hits to sustain change, and it
yes.
doesn't. It dissipates. It goes up and then it comes down.
Well, and they also do, and also kind of along that same line, it doesn't account for actual realistic factors. So, case in point, right? What was one of the first goals I would make as an addict? I'm never going to act out again.
Never
Guys,
again,
I
right?
have been sober for 10 and a half years, okay, as of this recording. I can't commit to you I'll never act out again right now. I can't make that commitment. I have no control over tomorrow. None. Not only that, but I have a background in addiction. So can I really realistically say I will never act out again? No. What can I commit to? Well, I've been doing recovery for a long time. I know that there are a list of things that set the stage up for a relapse. And I know that there are a set list of things that set me up for recovery on a daily basis. And history over a decade now has taught me that when I stick with this list and when I continue to recommit and practice mindfulness and do the things on that list, I have 10 years of experience that tell me I will continue to stay sober, right?
Yeah.
Just like if I don't engage with these things, I won't. But it would be foolhardy because I have made that goal of I'll never relapse. Setting a goal like that isn't attainable because I have no control over that. What do I have? I'm an addict by definition, right? If left to my own devices and without outside intervention, it's not a question of if I'm going to relapse. It's just a question of when. So, what commitments can I realistically make? As an addict, I can't guarantee not having a relapse. What can I guarantee? I can commit to 15 minutes of recovery work every single day. I can commit to signing me and my wife up for Dare to Connect using the amazing holiday promotion going on right now and staying in the program until I am a year sober. Plug. I can, right? I can commit to doing X, Y, or Z things. I can commit to purchasing and reading a book on anger management. I can do those are the kinds of things that I can actually
Yeah,
do.
I could commit that when I got up today, I'm going to go do my self-care routine. I can
Absolutely.
commit that every night I'm going to end my day with some journaling and touching base with my higher power. I can commit to that.
Absolutely. And I put into place what? A program for recommitment when inevitably I drop the ball in those areas at some point,
Well, that leads to our
right?
other avoidance thing, Steve, was so what happens when you temporarily get off the track a bit, right? Not having consequences or outcomes that are
Absolutely.
punitive, not reparative. Oh my gosh, how many times did I have the big plan for change and I'm just going for it and racing around like the racehorse, and then the inevitable thing happens, life comes, right? I'm in the trenches, and now I can't sustain what was usually an unrealistic thing in the first place. But then when
Yes.
I don't sustain it or I mess up, then I would come in with just crazy harsh self-flogging and just destroying myself over having failed as opposed to right here. And we'll talk about this in a minute, but the thing we don't often think about, Steve, with regard to this process of change and achieving goals, a critical component of that is what will I do when I don't measure up or get off the track or fail
Yeah.
today? That has to be part of the goal and change process, but it rarely is.
100%. 100%. And again, those recommitment goals or those outcomes or consequences should be reparative, right? Not
Reparative.
punitive. True
Yep.
story. I set a goal one year in my teens. If every time I masturbate this year, I'm hitting myself in the testicles with a wiffle bat.
Oh,
That's a real goal. That legit happened. You know those wiffle bats, those big.
yes, the big
I don't even know if
plastic
they make them.
bats.
Those big plastic ones that are hollow.
Mm-hmm.
That was my goal.
Oh my
Now,
God.
again, is that coming from a good place? Yeah, I want to quit masturbating. Is it coming from a place that's actually going to fix anything? No, I'm just going to take what already is a high percentage chance I'm going to be sterile because of cancer treatments as a kid and going to guarantee sterility in the future is what it's going
My
to do.
gosh.
That's all it's going to be.
Seriously, yeah.
And and we have
I've
heard so many examples like that from
I've
people.
told people, I said, if you could see my imaginary wall, you'd see like a string of 50 gold medals in self-flogging. I was the champion self-flogger. And what did it do? It just set me up for additional addiction,
Yeah.
being stuck in addiction for years and years and years.
I'm going to
Right.
devalue myself as an outcome of
That's how I'm going to
relapse.
make myself change by
Yes.
devaluing myself.
Some form of shaming is really what it
Yeah, I'm
comes
going to
down
shame
to.
myself into change.
Yep.
Exactly.
And so outcomes need to be reparative. So for example, let's give you a healthy version of that, right? Just and not that we're going to talk about this more at the end of the podcast, but rather than hitting yourself in the testicles with a wiffle bat, what would be a healthy way to address a relapse? I'm going to list out the top 3 reasons why that relapse occurred. What were the 3 biggest emotions I felt today that I felt led to that relapse? What is my commitment for the rest of the week to ensure that I minimize or address those same 3 feelings the whole rest of the week so that I don't feel those things or I mitigate it as much as possible for the next 7 days?
Or when I feel those things, I have several healthy outlet
Yes.
options ready to go
Here's what I will do if that
when I
happens.
feel that way. Yeah, exactly. See, now that's That's reparative
Yes.
as opposed to punitive. We had another thing on this list. I did this all the time, man. Goals that are not sustainable and are contradictory to one's authenticity. How many times did I set goals that did not fit my personality, did not fit my natural gifts, were things that a lot of times didn't even like, weren't even in harmony with who I was, but I was going to do them anyways, damn it. And oh my gosh. So, looking at goals that are sustainable, but also in harmony with your higher self, your process of becoming, instead of forcing yourself into pursuing things that aren't even congruent with you at all.
Yes.
I made that mistake a lot. Hey everybody, Mark and Steve with a special holiday offer. We know that the holidays can be tough when you're dealing with addiction and betrayal trauma healing. And we know that as tough as they are, they also bring hope. How many of you guys remember this time last year when you said, you know what, this next year, 2025 is going to be the last year.
Oh man.
We got this addiction. We're going to fix this relationship. We're going to get ourselves on track. And now here we are a year later. So make this the year 2026 that you finally get this crazy mess out of your lives, both addicts and the partners in healing. So from December 15th, 2025 through January 31st, 2026, in addition to the 2-week free trial that we always do, we're going to give you another $150 off of your first month's subscription.
All you got to do, guys, is at checkout, enter the coupon code 150 off D2C, all caps, no spaces. And, honestly, when it comes to promotions that we do throughout the year, this is by far the best one that we do. That means for you and your partner, if you do the math, that's 6 weeks total of the Dare to Connect program, okay? For less than $150. I don't care where you live in the United States or anywhere else. That is less than the cost of a single therapy session. If you really want to start 2026 off right, jump into Dare to Connect, go to daretoconnectnow.com, enter in that coupon code 150 off D2C, and we hope to see you there in 2026. Well, and that kind of ties in with another one from the list, guys. Setting goals. Again, this is our problem list still. Setting goals that are based on addressing symptomology only.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It is amazing how many of us have been running around with the flu, and for years or decades, we have been treating just the runny nose. I got to get this runny nose under control. And if I do that, then I'll be okay. Or if I can just somehow get the nausea to go away, or if I can just do this or that.
I like to call it running around putting out symptomatic addiction fires and never getting to the core causes that are starting the fires in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I was a freaking fireman with my fire hat on, going around putting out Mark's fires constantly, but they kept popping back up because I wasn't addressing what was fueling them.
I had a family that I worked with years ago where they had a bunch of kids. I want to say it was like 5 or 6, and they were all younger children. And this is kind of a physical example of what we're talking about. Any of you who have kids, you know how this goes. I have one child, and so I'm already starting to see a little bit of this. When one person would get sick in the family, what would happen? It was like dominoes, right? And the parents were running around all the time trying to do what? Address the symptoms of each kid as it would come up. And they would get now, is that a bad goal? No, not inherently, because symptoms matter. But they were for some reason, this came up in therapy. I don't know why. But one day they were talking about that, and we kind of talked about just, have you guys, what are you doing to address or look at the fact that, because when you have that many kids, what happens? By the time it's gone through everyone, well, now the first kid's now at risk of getting sick again because the antibodies are done. And so it's just this never-ending merry-go-round. And it came up in therapy one day about, maybe we need to put hand sanitizer around the house, and maybe we need to get serious and everybody needs to wear masks when we're at home. Like, if we don't break this cycle, we'll never stop running around, like Mark said, putting out fires. Yeah. How many of us addicts have done this? How many partners have done this in their betrayal trauma and in the reactions that they have in trauma?
Well, we just started into a deep dive about all of this today with our addict session in D2C. And what did we invite these guys to look at? What were the healthy unmet needs that you experienced as a kid or a teenager, healthy unmet needs, that when those needs went unmet, you then started looking for coping and self-soothing behaviors like addiction. And Steve, these guys, I mean, they listed out 20, 30
Oh yeah.
healthy unmet needs. And then we invited them further to say, and what were the emotional stressors that you experienced that also triggered you to look to go self-soothe and to avoid and medicate? And they listed a whole bunch of those. That's getting to the core causes, right? Goals and desires for change in this new year, whenever it is, you need to get to those core issues, or you're just going to be running around, as Steve said, treating symptoms, putting out fires, and the behavior is going to keep popping up again and again because you're not getting to the core.
We got to figure out why do these relapses keep happening, right? Rather than just trying to mitigate damage afterwards. What is pushing me, even though I committed a week ago, a month ago, to never act out again? And again, we talked about how that's not a necessarily healthy goal. But even though I made that goal, what is actually getting in the way, right? Being adept at managing shame, managing volatility is part of the game, but it can't be all of it.
No. And once you start to get down to the core issues and establish your goals based on that, then you start to make them very specific. You make them trackable. You make sure that you have a system to be accountable in that tracking, right? All these are just such critical issues. As we kind of finish up, there are a couple of other areas that we've noticed over the years with ourselves and others that are often very much overlooked in this process of change. One of those for me, and when this finally dawned on me, I was just like, well, no duh, but I just never really looked at it. You all know, as you're sitting here listening to us, you know that no matter what goal you have set, no matter what process of change you want to succeed in, you know that obstacles are going to get in your way, don't you? Life's going to happen. Stuff's going to happen. You're going to be tired. You're going to be moody. Somebody around you is going to do X, Y, or obstacles are going to get in the way. It's not a matter of if, it's when. So we invite you, as you are looking at these goals or this process of change, identify right up front the obstacles that are going to get in your way. You already know what they are. They've gotten in the way before. That's why you're setting these goals again.
Mm-hmm.
But what are the obstacles that are going to get in your way? The barriers, the pitfalls, right? The holes, they're going to come. So write them down. Yep, this is going to get in the way, and this and this and this. And then to each one say, okay, and what is my plan to deal with those obstacles when they come up? I have my solution ready to go when that obstacle comes. I already know what it's going to be, and here's what I'm going to do. That is so few people look at that. Well, that's negative. That's kind of coming at it from a place of failure, isn't it? No, you know that those obstacles will come.
It's not about planning to fail. It's about planning for reality.
Planning for, meeting life on life's terms.
Guys, every guy here, if he's willing to look at it, now there are reasons why we don't, because we're uncomfortable, because we are averse to pain or the shame or whatever. And we talk about those in other episodes. But every guy if you're listening to this podcast, and if this recurrent cycle is at all resonating with you, I don't care who you are, you have one thing in common, every single one of you. You have metaphorical PhDs in how the system breaks down.
Oh, everyone listen, you know where it breaks down.
That life experience, if we're willing to look and we're willing to actually categorize and sit down and actually get uncomfortable, because what's the inclination? We want to get as far away and put as much distance between us and that last relapse as possible. So we just try to move forward in positivity, quote unquote, whatever the hell that means. Yeah. And we don't make actual goals and that actually address, like what Mark said, is recognizing I'm going to have here are the 3 pitfalls that come up for me every time. And not only that, they usually come about, for me, I'll tell you where it was for me, where I kept getting stuck time and again was the 30-day mark. it became such a problem that the fact that it was 30 days in of itself was a trigger.
Yep.
And that was something I had to start planning around. And when I got semi-serious about this was, look, the week of the 30 days just is going to suck. What am I going to do for it? Because it's not a question of if it's going to suck, it's going to suck.
Exactly.
So how am I going to navigate it?
And this comes right down to obstacles that are going to come up in your own head.
Yes.
What had happened? Well, I'll tell you what happened for me. I'd get some good sobriety success, and then my brain would say, hey, you know what? It's been a really stressful day. I'd really like to feel good. You know what? Let's just do it one last time. This will be the last time. And so the one last time was a thought obstacle that would come up for me every time.
Yes.
What am I going to do with that thought when it comes? Because I know it's going to. Mm-hmm. Right? Just all these obstacles and being ready for them, confronting them, writing them down, putting your strategies and your tools next to them, doing dress rehearsals during your morning meditation. Imagine the obstacle coming up and then successfully using your tool to navigate through it. You can even go to that level. And that brings us to this other part, Steve, that I call identity. I like to say identity drives your habits and your outcomes. You got to look, before you look at how, you've got to be clear on who. Now, what do I mean by that? My identity for decades, and I like to gear my identity based on my internal self-talk. Every person listening in here, what is your internal self-talk like? I'll tell you an identity I had for decades. You're just an addict and you're never going to be anything but an addict. So you may as well just settle for it. I had that voice all the time. How successful do you think I'm going to be in recovery efforts when that identity voice is constantly playing on the stage of my mind? Yeah. I needed to decide who I wanted to become. I needed to get in touch with every day. Okay, Mark, who are you? And being that person, even the process of becoming that person, what does that person do? What would that person do in this moment? Well, if my full identity is nothing but a worthless, pathetic piece of crap addict, what is that person going to do in this moment? He's going to go act out. So I had to adjust my identity in all kinds of ways. My identity, for example, out in life with the women that were around me in my environment. Right? Was I one? Yep. I fantasize, I objectify, I piecemeal and turn women into parts. That's what I do. Well, I had to start rehearsing an identity that said, you know what? No, you know what? I respect women. I protect them. I guard their dignity. I really take this serious. That's who I am. And I would rehearse that to myself constantly every day. Now that guy gets into public space in that identity, and then what does he do? Identity is huge, and it's so often overlooked.
Well, and we could do a whole podcast just on that topic because
we could do
dictates so much of what happens in this process.
Yeah.
And that does, and identity is tied, as Mark mentioned, a lot of things. One of those is definitely environment, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, environment. Steve, how many times have we and others we'd worked with, the environment that you're allowing yourself to be in keeps triggering unwanted behaviors, but you never stop to consider the environment itself, which is easy to change in many cases. How many times have we continued to walk into the same dysfunctional environment and wondered why certain behaviors were triggered? Maybe we could give some examples.
Well, there are lots of them, right? But for example, because environment can look like lots of things. Mm-hmm. When I first got into recovery, for example, I was in the process of looking for a sponsor. I was kind of semi-serious, when I went to my first couple of 12-step meetings about recovery, but kind of not. Thankfully, I had enough presence of mind. It wasn't even that advanced of a process. But I made a determination that I was going to find one of the guys that had the longest sobriety in the room and go ask them to be my sponsor after the meeting. Since since then I've refined that process to what I call sticking with the winners.
Sticking with the winners.
Right. And that doesn't just mean in a recovery setting like in a 12-step meeting and supports that way. Are there toxic elements in your family group, your friend group that are pushers of shame, pushers of agendas that push you out of your authentic space or who you're trying to become? Every single person in each of our lives, this is just the cold hard reality that I think we all learn in adulthood. I wish somebody explained this to me when I was a kid, because there was a bunch of bullshit that was kind of tied into this with the culture I grew up in, and it's not true. But everyone, when it comes right down to it, and your progression, everyone is either going to be an asset or a deficit to who you are trying to become.
Yep.
Now, those that might be deficits, does that mean that we don't spend time with them or we ostracize them? No, of course not. But it does mean that we safeguard and we ensure that we have a balance of those people in our lives, and we are very clear about what boundaries we hold with the assets versus the deficits. We do have to do that.
How many addicts have we talked to? And this is not just addicts, but also, for example, partners trying to heal from betrayal trauma. They hang out with people that do not help them.
Correct.
Very negative, very pessimistic. We've had addicts and as I say, partners in healing who've said, I had to give up whole friend groups because I realized that people environment was not helping me. It was doing just the opposite. How about the environment in your own head? What kinds of thoughts do you allow to dwell on the stage of your mind and create that thought environment? Is that helping you in your process of positive change? Here's a simple one. Let's say you say, I want to really get healthy and eat well and have this year be a year filled with health. And then you walk into the pantry in your kitchen and it's full of junk food. And you wonder why, when you walk into that environment, you feel so triggered and tempted, right?
Mm.
And that's an environment that needs some radical change. The environment of, we talked about this in our Sunday support group with the guys yesterday in Dare to Connect. Guys held up their phone and said, what about the environment of my phone? How many apps do I have on here? How many social media things that have been very, very tempting and detrimental? Like I changed my whole phone environment and it made such a difference. So your habits flow from your environment, and it's one of the most direct things that you can change, so that when you go into that environment with those people, those circumstances, those thoughts, change that environment up and you'll be shocked how much easier it is to change the behaviors.
Yeah.
So those are there's just a whole slew of ideas all stuck into one podcast.
And there's a lot more that we could say, guys. We got to wrap up due to time. But as always, if you like this podcast, guys, you will love Dare to Connect. If you're listening to this again before January 31st, or even actually after that, but although the promotion is only good through January 31st of 2026, there has never been a better time to join Dare to Connect. Right now, you're going to get half off of your first month in Dare to Connect, plus a 2-week free trial if you sign up with the coupon code mentioned in the advertisement at the beginning of this podcast. It's the only advertisement we ever attach to these podcasts. We don't monetize them. We only include advertisements for Dare to Connect. And the reason why is because we know how impactful it can be. Let 2026 be a year where you can just be done with this. Aren't you tired of screwing around with this thing? I mean, seriously, that's like, let's just be real. Aren't you done? Do you want to be done dicking with this thing or not? If you do, come join us. Come grab a 2-week free trial and half off of your first month. That's 6 weeks of Dare to Connect for less than half the cost of a therapy session for most people where they live. And come see what people find in it. 6 weeks, it'll give you a chance to fully immerse yourself. Access your first Dare to Connect Academy course on lust versus healthy appreciation. There's no better time to grab it, and you can find that offer at daretoconnectnow.com. And again, just use the coupon code when you check out that is attached to the podcast.
Yeah. Well, thanks for spending time with us again. Appreciate all of you. Hope that this is going to be a really good year for all of us. And we'll hopefully see you in D2C or see you in the next PBSE podcast.
Everything expressed on the PBSE podcast are the opinions of the hosts and the participants and is for informational and educational purposes only. This podcast should not be considered mental health therapy or as a substitute thereof. It is strongly recommended that you seek out the clinical guidance of an individual qualified mental health professional. If you're experiencing thoughts of suicide, self-harm, or a desire to harm others, please dial 911 or go to your nearest emergency room.